Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. I am Monet and you're watching Life is Monet. So you remember like in February when I posted that very torturous vlog of me reading all of the Goodreads choice for the last 10 years. It was a collaboration with other content creators and it was fun. Even though I didn't have a lot of fun reading the book, I did have fun watching everybody's videos and their different perspectives and also just the creativity that went into that vlog. I needed a bit of a downer after that because it almost sent me into a reading slump from how many bad books I had to read. And so there was another like collaborative project that came forth from that video that I did not anticipate that I was going to be participating in because I needed a break. But for some reason, I'm taking a break from my reading because I've actually finished my TBR for the month of March already. And I have a little bit of room in my schedule and I was going to pick up a random read. And it turns out that I can still actually get in on this collaboration that you guys are seeing right now, which is going to be us reading incredibly hyped books as kind of like an April Fool's gotcha kind of joke. Now I'm just giving you guys backstory for my inspiration, but I did a live show a couple of weeks ago to celebrate 6K. And we did reading sprints and someone said that they were reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And I was like, I don't know anything about that book. All I know is that Target has purchased more copies of that book than the publisher can print. Because whenever I go into Target, it doesn't matter what Target I go into, it's on the front by the register. It's on the end cap. I'm convinced that whenever Target redoes their displays, they start with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and then they build around that because they have so many copies of that book. I'm convinced that they are like the single-handed bestseller of them. And then someone told me that A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is actually a very fun and interesting book. So I'm using that as inspiration for this vlog. I don't know if that's going to be the only book that we read, if I read that in the sequel, but I also have been seeing Lucy's score everywhere. What is it called? The Things We Never Got Over, The Things We Left Behind, The Things We Can't Get Over. I don't know the title of the books because I have been wholly ignoring them, but they have been everywhere. Unsurprisingly, they've also been at Target. So we're gonna go to Target and we're gonna use this as our guide of books that we have seen everywhere, but also books that Target is just buying excessive copies of. And we'll go from there. I literally cannot come into Target without looking at pajamas. I have a problem. I love pajamas. Literally on an end cap. What are the chances? You know, another beloved and hyped book is totally The Spanish Love Deception. I cannot believe it. They're actually sold out of book one. You guys, I was actually nervous because it was empty when I went there and I asked an employee and he said that he had just filled the shelf 30 minutes ago and that they sold out in 30 minutes, but they had more in the back. I told you, Target never fails to have an excessive amount of copies of this book. So definitely reading it. I'm also a little iffy on the Lucy Score books because they're so thick. They also had Buy a Thread. I don't know how many books I'm supposed to read in this vlog, but let's go with it. We're back and I am officially at home. 3 employees when I was checking out was like, oh, I heard that was a really good book. Did you? Did you? Who gave you that information? All of this seems to be bookish propaganda, I'm convinced. Like, it must be in the water. Something's in the Target water when it comes down to this book. I will say that I am surprised because while I always see this book at Target, I always see this book at Target and like it's never sold out. And so I didn't expect that it was actually selling. Like I knew that they were selling copies, but I didn't think in my mind that they would be refilling the shelf where this book is multiple times a day because every time they put out books, it sells. Someone came and bought the last copy of this book that was on display 30 minutes ago. And here I come 30 minutes later looking for a copy too. Am I now included in the Ponzi scheme? It feels like it. I also did grab 2 Lucy Score books. And when I say that I have no idea what these books are about, like, I could not even guess. I couldn't guess what these books were about. I don't know which one we're going to be reading in the vlog. You know what? Let me read the synopsis. Hold that thought. Dominic was staring at me like he couldn't decide whether he loathed me or wanted to French kiss me. Wine. We're going to need a whole bottle of wine just for this book. Dominic, I got her fired. Okay, so I'd had a bad day and took it out on a bystander in a pizza shop. But there's nothing demure about Ali Morales. That's the name? She proves that on the first day of her new job, which just happens to be in my office, and I can't fire her because it's my mother, the CEO, who hired her. All of this sounds chaotic. Oh my God, I need to get my money back. So maybe her colorful, annoying, inexplicably alluring personality. Is she quirky? Oh gosh, she's gonna be quirky, isn't she? Her personality brightens up the magazine's office that have felt like a prison for the past year. Your magazine office feels like a prison? Does it? Oh gosh, I'm not drunk enough to read the synopsis. Maybe I like that she argues with me in front of editorial staff. You like her unprofessionalism? And maybe my after hours fantasies are haunted by those brown eyes and that sharp tongue. She's working herself to death at half a dozen dead-end jobs for some secret reason she doesn't feel like sharing with me. Are you guys in a relationship? Like, are you pining for her from afar? Or, like, do y'all have a romantic relationship going on? And I'm going to fix it all. Don't accuse me of caring. She's nothing more than a puzzle to be solved. I am so confused. I am so fucking confused. If I can get her to quit working, I can finally peel away all those layers. Why do you want to peel away the layers if she's a nuisance? And then I can forget all about the dancing, beer-slinging brunette. Allie now. Ha. Hold my beer, charming? Absolutely not. That requires hard liquor. Fucking vodka. Then we have Things We Never Got Over. Naomi Witt is on the run, not just from her fiance and a church full of well-wishers, but from her entire life. Although, if you ask her, Naomi's riding to the rescue of her estranged hot mess of a twin, Tina, to Knockmount, a rough around the edges town where disputes are settled the old-fashioned way with fists and beer, usually in that where? What old-fashioned town is still settling disputes with fists and beer? Where? Quickly, answer quickly. I should have read the synopsis in the store. Too bad for Naomi, her evil twin hasn't changed at all. Why is she running to her evil twin's rescue if she's an evil twin? After helping herself to Naomi's cash and car, Tina leaves behind something unexpected. The niece Naomi didn't know she had. So you left your life, you ran away to go help your estranged evil twin who has now robbed you of your car and your money and left you her daughter? Flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted. Now she's a guardian to an 11-year-old going on 30 with no car, no money, and no plan. You need to call the folks. Okay, I don't know who the folks are. They could be the police officers, the fire station, CPS, Child Protective Services, the state. You need to call the folks, whoever they may be. There's a reason this bearded bad boy barber doesn't get involved with high maintenance women, especially type A romantic ones. She can't be high maintenance. She can't be. She can't love herself. She let herself get in this situation. But since Naomi's life imploded right in front of him, the least Knox can do is help her out of her jam. No, she didn't have to help her sister. Knox doesn't have to help her. Like, everybody could just mind their fucking business. Truly, yeah. And just as soon as she stops getting into trouble, he can leave her alone and get back to his quiet, solitary life. At least that's the plan. This sounds like the same book. The synopsis is given the same. It sounds like the same book, y'all. I am going to suffer. I'm afraid. I only bought one bottle of wine, so we may need to save it. This may be like heads or tails, right? Do I want to suffer or do I want to suffer? Do I want quirky or do I want annoying? I don't know. Let's start with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I'm afraid to read the synopsis of this one because it may go down the drain as quickly as that just did. And so we're going into this one blind for my sanity. Literally the first like 2 pages of the book is Pippa describing her project, and she wants to investigate this missing person that ended up being a homicide case. She's convinced for some reason that this guy didn't do it. And so for her capstone project for her senior year for investigative journalism, she wants to look into this case to see if she can prove his innocence. And her teacher tells her that she needs to make sure that there are no ethical lines crossed and to absolutely make no contact with the families involved. And she like literally commits to that, and then boom, she goes right to their house. Right to their house. Like right after saying that you understood that contacting them would disqualify your senior project, and you're gonna go do this because you care more about solving this case than you do about your senior capstone. Like you don't care if you fail. You don't care if you. I love stupid characters. Let's do this. The girl that went missing is white, 5'6", long blonde hair and blue eyes. Baby, I know they had the choppers out. They was looking for this girl. They was dragging lakes. Okay, they was scouting the woods. I know the whole neighborhood came out to find her. Blonde hair, blue eyes. If they couldn't find her, she wasn't on Earth. So I just got home from a concert, and tonight is going to be a night of reading. But first, let me give you my thoughts for where I am in the first 75 pages of the book. First of all, this is utterly fucking ridiculous. Like, the entire premise and the plot, the character, fucking ridiculous. She is not smart. And beyond that, she's a charlatan. She is pretending that she knows how to go about researching this project or looking into a missing person's case. Like, she's literally pretending like she knows what the fuck she's doing, and she does not. There's several moments in the book, but one of which is like her promising not to contact the family, and then the first thing she does is contact the family. Her swearing up and down that she knows that this boy Sal is innocent, even though she has no idea why, right? Something about it just isn't making any sense to her. And there's literally 2 other moments in the story where she says that one person could not have been involved or could not have been the killer because she's too nice. Okay. And then she says that she believes that Sal is innocent because he was Harvard bound, and because he got accepted into Harvard, he would be too clever to have been caught so red-handed with murder. Sure. Sure, just because you got accepted into Harvard, you're too smart to get away with murder in the 21st century. Okay. The format of the book is mixed media, which I actually really like. I like the fact that the chapters are short. We're jumping from like her interviewing different people to her writing in her journal for her actual project, and she's like citing these little like citations, but I'm pretty sure it's like fake citations, but it's giving like a real academic format. And then there's moments where she's just interacting with her friends and her family, and we get to really see her outside of her project. And all of these things are coming at you in short and consumable bite-sized pieces. So I actually think for a YA, murder mystery or like missing persons, unsolved case, I don't know what this is, but like for the genre that the book is in, the format is actually really giving. I think it's funny how the author writes in racial and cultural insensitive language from the dialogues of the characters. I'm not exactly sure why she chose to do that, but it makes me wonder if Holly Jackson has a reason that she is weaving in a parody to make her characters like seem racist by ignorance, or if she's even noticing that she's doing that. She's gone out of her way to give Pippa a Nigerian stepfather, which feels like it was done for a reason. Otherwise, like, why do we need that particular representation for her character? Now, the person, Sal, that everybody believes killed his girlfriend is actually Indian, and there's some pretty insensitive language towards him on behalf of like people that she's interacting with, and Pippa is like this sole defender against racism within the story, which I find very interesting because Pippa is not the most culturally aware herself, but somehow she's gonna be like the social justice racial warrior of the story. And just setting up the story with giving her a Nigerian stepfather, a biracial brother, and her wholeheartedly believing that this Indian boy is innocent of killing a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl, even though she has no connection to the story, and she has no idea why she believes that he's innocent, just that she does. I guess this intuition that she feels is that everybody's racist and I'm not. And even though I don't exactly know what's going on here, the fact that I'm not racist is making me feel like I can see beyond what everybody else is just jumping to the conclusions for. I feel like I can already tell where we're going with that plot, so there's that. I'm really hoping that the book doesn't end with her liberating this Indian boy who was misjudged by the color of his skin, and he was blamed so that a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy could get away with a rape charge. Because if we're going down that route, I don't think that I'm going to enjoy this book that much. But other than making racism a central component to how the system felt to adequately investigate this missing person's case, I don't exactly know where we're going. But that's okay, because here's my glass of wine. It is still early in the evening and we're gonna do some reading. You would have to suspend all of your disbelief for this book to be logical. Like you would have to be incredibly naive. Like you'd have to be the definition of naive for you to think that this book logically makes sense. Also, Pippa is fucking annoying. She just took a picture of a drug dealer doing a drug sale and then knocked on his door and blackmailed him with it. That's how you get your ass whooped. That's how you go missing. Like, she is moving throughout this investigation with no tact, no finesse. She's not shrewd in any way. She is bulldozing her way into people's lives in the most tasteless way that you can think of. And she's only getting away with it because she's a suburban class white girl. This is the only environment in which these stories actually work. This girl just asks Sal's brother, an Indian boy, to break into a white family's home using their spare key with her. And then said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think about the fact that you are already being judged by your brother's alleged actions and that you, as a person of color, cannot do this crime with me because thus you will be doing time without me." And this is comical at this point. Like, this is the worst, like, champion white I've ever seen in my life. It's giving I don't see color. And like, you should, because you're gonna get this boy killed. Like, the only reason you're surviving these situations is that your color is light. And maybe you should see the color of everyone else around you, because that's the biggest hurdle. Like, the biggest thing that she's not seeing is the racial component to this mystery and how that plays into what's happening. If she could check her own prejudices, right, then we would be further along in this fucking investigation. If she could check her own bias. Like, I don't know. She's a fraud. She's a fraudster. Okay, she's pretending like she's gonna hold the line and fight the good fight with the brother man, and she's going to get you killed, my good sir. She's gonna get you arrested, my good sir. You're gonna go to jail. Okay? And I also have a hard time believing that this boy is like 2 or 3 years older than her, that he's just putting all his faith and all his eggs into her basket to solve this crime of proving his brother innocent because his parents told him to let it go, and so he did. And so because 5 years later, this girl wants to have a fun senior project of providing some type of doubt into his brother's complicity in this crime, and he's just like, yeah, you're my one chance. You're my one chance to prove that my brother might have not done this. Are you sure? Are you sure, Robbie? And also the names, the Indian names, I'm not Indian, so I ain't gonna speak for them. All I will say is that names like Ravi, Sal, Raj, those are like staple like Monica, LaShawn, Tashawn, Diamond, like these are giving staple Indian names. Like, everything in this book is surface level, but like Ravi, yeah, cool. Pippa, Ravi and Pippa, little PJ Masks here to save the day. You couldn't have gave, I don't know, the names. Listen, let me stop reviewing this book critically, because there's nothing critically here. And you know what? I'm convinced that the only time I should go shopping for books in Target is to buy bad ones, okay? Target is where you go to find bad, overly hyped books. And don't expect quality. Okay? Expect something comical, humorous, laughable, but don't expect nothing good. Not from the Target staples. Target don't promise that. They don't. After using someone else's spare key to break into their house, Pippa doesn't make the connection that she also lives in the same neighborhood where everybody keeps spare keys under their mat. Thus, she has a spare key to her house under her mat. I don't know if she didn't make the connection or just doesn't believe that somebody else would have the gall and the audacity that she does, but she just got home to a threat and realized that someone has used her spare key to break into her home to threaten her. And I'm like, girl, you didn't, even if you never thought that that was like a dangerous thing, if I do something and then I see someone take advantage of that habit, I'm like, you know what? I should change that. If my neighbor always leaves her car doors unlocked and then her car gets broken into, I'm gonna think, I should lock my car doors. Better yet, if my neighbor leaves her car door unlocked and I break into it, then I'm going to say, I should lock my car door. If my neighbor leaves her house door unlocked and I walk in unannounced, uninvited, I'm going to walk back out thinking, let me make sure my door is locked so that my space is not invaded and my privacy is not disregarded in a way that I just disregarded hers. Like, how Pippa is not smart. Okay? She's thinking, and she's thinking hard. It's just, she's showing all the math work, and somehow, with all the right formulas, the answer's still wrong. The final answer is still wrong. And you're trying to figure out, where do you think you went wrong? This book is easily consumable. It's a fast read. It's utterly fucking ridiculous. And to me, it's a shit show. Somebody else might have a good time with it, but I'm gonna switch to the audio now because I need to speed this up. We need to get this done. You guys, the ending of this book was so absurd and also so good that I am confuddled. I am confused and befuddled at the same time. And I was highly entertained. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was incredibly entertained with the ending of this book. Pippa was supposed to be seen as brave, but I don't think I've ever seen a more airheaded character be so airheaded in my life. It was just scene after scene of stupidity and just no calculations for our movements, no matter how much Pippa wanted to pretend like she was just so far ahead of the game. And you know what? When she got herself into that little situation, that little sticky, icky situation, I was glad because it's about damn time that you learned some lessons. If the plot twist of this book was a sandwich, I would say that I guessed the bun, the cheese, and the meat. I did not guess the tomatoes, the pickles, the onions, the ketchup, nor the mustard. So it wasn't the most predictable book like I thought it was going to be, but this type of like insaneness that just doesn't make any sense is things that I find in books like For Your Own Good, My Lovely Wife, The Perfect Marriage, where like it's just so far off the fucking rails that you somehow weirdly enjoy it. Probably in the biggest plot twist that I nor you saw coming, probably. 4 stars to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Do I recommend it? Fuck no. It is a hot mess. It is, you're not in good conscience tell anybody to pick up this book. But yeah, 4 stars. Apparently this man being tall enough that she could wear a high pair of heels and still have to look up to him, and having a dirty blonde man bun is like all of her list of reasons to be attracted to a man. Okay, we've already called him a Viking twice in one paragraph. And also, the blonde god of sexy furry. We're off to a great start. Oh, we also have a sexy man beast. Lovely. We're on page 5. We are on page 5. He just said that his name was Knox, and this girl said, what the hell kind of name is that? Is it a hard Knox life? Does he tell a lot of Knox jokes? Is it short for something? Knoxwell. Knoxathan. Okay. Knox's brother is the chief of police, and they don't get along for whatever reason, God only knows. And they're about to fight. Like, literally just hit each other. And I'm supposed to believe that the chief of police that's over 40 years old is going to just duke it out with his brother over who knows what. I think they might possibly be fighting over Naomi, over like who's gonna get the chance to possibly have a romantic relationship with her. Like there's some animosity between them, but I don't even know what's happening here. I don't even know why they're about to throw blows. I just have a hard time believing that this is how the chief of police still settles disputes with his family. Really? I think that after a day of breaking up a lot of domestic abuses and domestic violence situations, family and home disputes, that he's going to come home and have a little domestic violence situation himself. I knew about 50 pages into this story that this was not going to be the romance for me. This is the type of romance that I typically steer away from. However, I was still so early within the story that I hadn't gotten to seeing our two main love interests have a true dynamic or relationship with each other. And so I decided to keep reading the book until I got to about 150 to 200 pages, because then I would have read like 30 or so percent of the book and I could have had a more fleshed out opinion about the story. And in this rare turn of events, my 2-year-old, who has never done this before, ever, took a pen to my book. Of all the books that I own, you've never done this, and you pick this one to draw in. And so that means that this is now a part of my permanent collection. So here we are. I am now going to finish it. I'm going to read it because I've already spent my $20 and I can't get my money back. I can't sell it anywhere. So we're going to read it and get some type of return on our investment, even if it is a torturous return. Is it cringy? For sure. But is it the most cringy? No, not by far. Looking at you, Magnolia Parks. Okay? There's just still a lot of issues that I have with the story. First, our main character, Naomi, while I was afraid that she was going to be quirky, that is not the case. She is more so ditzy in like a dumb blonde kind of way. I wasn't really looking forward to her being a quirky type of character, so I guess we'll take a ditzy, scatterbrained personality instead. My biggest disconnect from the story is actually the male love interest, Knox. It is inconceivable to me that this man is over 40 years old and acts and thinks the way he does. He is a literal man-child, and he has zero emotional maturity and -6 emotional intelligence. And that to me is crazy. He presents a slew of red flags that me at 27 would go running for the hills. I would single-handedly keep my homegirls from him, because the red flags are left and freaking right. The gaslighting on the page, the disrespect, the mistreatment, the demeaning nature in which he addresses her, it is really bad. There's no genuine reason for him to act this way. Like, if he was trying to avoid relationships, then the author failed to give him a reason. There have been no hints to a backstory that he has that would make logical sense for him to treat Naomi the way that he does. He is initially just mean to her, like mean and disrespectful. And then he gets upset when she interacts with everyone else in the story in a healthy way, particularly with his brother Nash. Nash is doing his job, but he also kind of likes her. And so they're having a healthy dialogue. I don't necessarily think that they're flirting, but they're getting to know each other like one does when you meet a freaking stranger. And he is going out of his way to stand in between them so that they cannot develop into anything else. And he just is constantly saying, I don't know why. I don't know why, but I can't let my brother have her. I don't know why, but I get horny every time she's around me. I don't know why, but I'm not attracted to her. She's not my type. I hate girls like her, but yet I fantasize about having sex with her. Like, I don't know why I care that she doesn't like me, but just because I was mean to her doesn't mean she gets to ice me out. Like, you're over 40. You're over 40. You don't know why it bothers you every time you see her smile and laugh at your brother? You don't know? Let's grow up. Let's move past this schoolyard bully concept. Even still at that point, boys that are mean to girls because they like them and they don't know how to be vulnerable. They don't know how to be soft. They're afraid to be that intimate in that way. They know what they're doing. They know that they're being mean. Even if you're doing like a fake hate to love trope, typically those men are pretending to dislike a girl because they know that they actually like her. He is oblivious. From his perspective, he has no idea why it matters to him, why she matters to him, and he is still being very mean to her. And so to me, it feels like we spent 150 pages of him pointlessly getting her to dislike him. And now we're going to spend the next 150 pages of him trying to soften this ice wall that he has deliberately contributed to building up around her. So this book is too long because we've pussyfooted about, wasting so much unnecessary time, especially because he doesn't have this story of I was once married and she ran off with some other guy, or there's no reason. Like, give him a reason to be this way. And even still, it wouldn't be justifiable because there's no reason for a grown man, such a grown man with so much life experience, and he owns businesses. Like, there's just no way that you are this emotionally neglectful of other people and yourself. And then just still assuming that everyone's going to tolerate the way that you treat them. If we look at other comparisons of like Loveless by Elsie Silver, that guy is a grump. He is a jackass, but he understands at his big grown age that not everybody's going to accept that. And so he's very much a take it as you see it kind of guy. Like, this is me, this is who I am. Either you deal with it or you don't. That's not the same thing as what Knox is doing of being an asshole and expecting not just Naomi, but expecting other people to tolerate it. Literally being shocked that one of his employees would quit after he berated her in public on a shift. I have a genuine problem with Knox. And I also feel like this is one of those books that is a prime example in the romance community where people are so infatuated with the idea of love that they over romanticize something in their head that is more romantic than what is actually in the book. Like, you guys are amplifying the romance in a way that is not depicted within the book itself. And I know that this can be done in a much better way because I've seen Mariana Zapata do it twice, not once, but twice. The same story, the same taglines, okay? We have a aunt who just moved to this area that is taking care of her nephews and in over her head, and she has a very grumpy neighbor. I can't remember how old Dallas, is his name Dallas? What is his name? Yeah, his name is Dallas. I can't remember how old Dallas is, but I would say that he is close in age to Knox, and he is grumpy, and there is a genuine reason for that. And he can be grumpy and he can be standoffish without being disrespectful. And then we have All Roads Lead Here, which is a single dad grumpy romance. And again, another example of a man who can be standoffish, that can be abrasive, that can be a grump without being fucking rude, without being disrespectful. Like, now it's downright personal how he's treating this girl within the story, and I don't find it cute. I don't find it attractive in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that it's possible for Naomi to really grow him up, but I also don't think that it's her responsibility. Like, after 40 years of freaking living, it is not on to some random girl that you decided that you like. Literally, there's a line in the story where he's like, I don't like you, you're not my type, but I have no control over the sexual attraction that I feel towards you. And so because I'm sexually attracted towards you and I don't want to be, I don't like you. Flat out tells her that to her face. And so now, to me, you've put this responsibility on her. Because you are childish and immature and you have no self-control, you dislike the power that I hold over you, that you've given to me, because you can't control yourself. You can't control your attraction to me, and that was my problem, right? So now I need to raise a man baby, and listen, not my type of romance at all. But again, I can't get my money back. She has made it a Picasso on several pages. I've already been filming this video, so by golly, come hell or high water, I'm gonna finish this book because I have nothing else to do with it. If nothing good happens or shifts within the story, I won't come back and update because I don't want this to quickly turn into a rant or like a hate video because I strongly dislike this book. If nothing good happens, assume that the rest of my reading journey was as what I just described to you just now, and then I'll just come back when I'm done. If you see me before then, hopefully it's with good news and that I don't end up more pissed off than what I am right now. I told you that I wasn't going to come back and update this vlog unless something took a turn for the better within the story. I lied. I lied right to your face. I hate this book. I hate this book. I hope that Knox gets male pattern baldness. I hope he loses that man bun. Like, I have never been so disgusted with a male character in my life. What about this book is romantic? Where is the romance? There's nothing romantic about Knox. Everything about him just screams toxic masculinity. Like, this man is over 40 and he's not giving daddy energy. He's not giving big dick energy. He's giving pissing contest energy. So like, Naomi has a really hard time with confrontations and for standing up for herself, for being vocal and being adamant about what she wants. And she's a caretaker for everyone around her. And he's stepping in as this protector for her. But instead of helping her elevate and grow, like helping her in terms of her development, he is commandeering her life and taking away her autonomy. It is coming across in a way that he doesn't think that she knows how to make decisions and to stand up for herself. And so she needs someone to swoop in and do it for her. And so he is not helping her evolve. He is literally just like controlling her in the most unattractive way. And when he tells her to do something, this is the one of three responses that I've seen so far in the book. She either, and this one started a drinking game. I have now reached the second bottle. I'm at the end of my second bottle of wine because I took a drink every time he said, I don't know why I'm gonna do this thing, but I'm gonna do this thing. I took a drink. And quickly, within 50 pages, ran through a bottle. The second time that I took a drink, because I started a whole drinking game with this damn book, was every time he forced her to do something or forcefully told her something, and she said, I'm too tired to argue against him. I have reached the end of my second bottle just from those two rules of the drinking game. That's all I had to do. All I had to do was drink every time he said he didn't know why he was doing something, and every time she said, I'm too tired to push back against him. I'm too tired to not do what he just told me to, so I'm going to do it because I'm too tired to fight with him. And that's literally playing back into her as a character. Her entire personality is being ditzy and fiending for coffee. At this point, girl, you don't just love coffee, you are addicted to coffee. You need help, okay? Anytime you don't have coffee, you are not functional. And even still within the story, there's moments where she will have coffee and then say, okay, I didn't have enough. It's giving addict. It's giving that you need to go to Coffee Anonymous, because what is this? What is, like, something serious will literally be happening and it'll be chaos left and right. And Naomi's just like, yeah, I'm not functional. So like, no coffee in me. I can't do this. And it's not even just in the morning times, like literally middle of the day. Middle of the day, she's like, okay, I haven't had my coffee fix. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'm not judging the coffee girlies out there, but I have met plenty of people in my life that are avid coffee drinkers that are still functional. They can still make decisions. They can still live life. They're still a real person. They're just doing things in agitation because they wish that they had coffee. Very rarely have I, and I don't think I've ever come across someone that just completely shuts down. That is an absolute zombie at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because they haven't had another dose of coffee. That is her entire personality. So have I connected with Naomi? Absolutely not. We know that she ran away from her fiance on the day of their wedding. She just climbed through a church basement and never went back. We have yet, and I'm on page 290. So I'm a little past like 50% within the book. We have yet to get Naomi's internal perspective or her emotional state of what led her to leave her fiance and what led her to just dip out. She has not taken a moment to really internalize what it means for her to be so flighty, to just be so sympathetic and empathize with so many people that she takes on their problems and that she doesn't know how to, like, girl, stand the fuck up. She doesn't know how to do it, okay? She's like a doe with wobbly legs throughout the entire story, and that is supposed to be this defining thing about her character. And it's like, are we ever gonna get that moment of Naomi standing up for herself, of Naomi speaking her mind and standing her ground on something? Because every time she tries to, Knox overruns her. He has the finesse of a bull in a china shop, which is to say none at all. And it is nothing but him telling her to do something, and it's her saying, I'm too tired to push back, or she'll ask a question or try to say something, he'll flat out ignore her and like manhandle her into doing what he told her to do. Or in the last scene, he told her to shut up. She literally was pushing back on something and he said shut up, and she sat quietly and ate her food. How is this romantic? Hmm? Lucy? Lucy score? Lucy to the floor. Lucy to the floor. Come defend yourself. What is romantic about this? What is attractive about Knox? He has literally done nothing. He hasn't said a single nice thing to Naomi except for telling her what her body does to his body. Or there was a moment where he kind of forced them into a fake relationship in front of her parents. That was the nicest he had been to her in 275 pages in the entire story. The nicest things that he said to her was to push across the point that they were in a fake relationship. He has yet to say anything really kind to her. And I feel like, yes, there's many forms of love languages, and right now his love languages seems to be gifts. He is forcing her to take money and phone and clothes and panties that he knows that she needs, and he's forcing it on her. But then there's a moment in the story where he throws in her face what he's done for her to prove his point that she is not self-sufficient. I understand that you feel like she's not very vocal, but this girl has gotten herself to where she is so far. She had a career, she bought a house, she was doing okay financially. So like, no matter what you feel about her or her inability to really speak up and yell from the rooftop about how she feels about something, she's still a self-sufficient adult. She's still an adult. Even if she's a ditzy one, I'm with you right there. She's still absolutely an adult. And I don't think that it's necessary to take away her autonomy entirely because she's not speaking or being vocal about things in the way that you want her to be. And that's really just being an asshole the way that you are. And there's even an interaction with her father where he's butting into a family problem that he keeps freaking doing throughout the story, and he is over talking everyone in the situation, and her father's like, why are you even here? And he gets rowdy with her father. Like, what? And I just feel like that's just not sustainable in a relationship. Like, you can be a gift giver in terms of a love language, sure, of course, but I think that Naomi needs to hear, right? She needs words of affirmation, words of encouragement, and she needs the space to actually test out what it feels like to stand her ground. And that is what we need from this relationship. That is what I need to see in terms of character growth from Naomi, not just him shoving a bunch of gifts down her throat and then having sex with her and then absolutely just telling her what to do. Like, and you're telling me that you just climbed out of a window of a church basement because you were in a relationship where you felt like you couldn't really be your authentic self. How are you being authentic with Knox? You don't know who the fuck you are because Knox is literally telling you what to do. He is nothing but aggressive energy. And even if it feels like it comes from a good place, at your age, I still really have a hard time believing that he's over 40 freaking years old. You are too grown to not know how to communicate, to not be soft with your female, with the girl that you like. Like, this is ridiculous. Everything about Knox and about this book is just leaving a really sour taste in my mouth, and I'm still waiting for the moment in which he makes her feel like the only girl in the world, and he makes her feel special. And you know, he has that whole everybody but you vibe. I'm gonna be grumpy and mean to everybody but you, but it's giving everybody and you too. Like, I haven't seen him show a softer side to himself other than throwing gifts at her. There's so many other points within the story that is just ripe with misogyny that I'm just like surprised that a female wrote this. Like, that whole everybody that works at the bar, their periods have synced up, and so he just drops off like brownies and heating pads, and he doesn't go to his own business establishment while everybody's on their period, and then writing these women as if they're just completely dysfunctional and like also not able to perform their jobs just because it's that time of the month. I'm tempted to just give it back to my daughter and let her finish her Picasso because she didn't write over nothing valuable. I will never in my life read another book by Lucy Score, but even still, like, if you're watching this and you read this book, I love that for you. Can you tell me where's the romance? That's my one question. I don't want anybody to defend the book. You ain't gotta defend it. You don't gotta go hard for it. Just tell me what page, because I'm on 300 out of 550. Tell me what page the romance actually occurs on. That's my question. We're in the third act breakup, and this might be a bit of a spoiler, but we're in the third act breakup. There's an argument situation going on. Of course, Knox's brother Nash is still involved in their relationship dynamic, although I don't know why you need to pit two brothers against each other just because there's a pretty girl in town. You could have brought two pretty girls and then they could stop knocking their heads together, but he just told his brother that he could have her because she was his leftovers and he doesn't want her to go to waste. What is romantic about Knox? That remains the question. What is romantic about Knox? I haven't seen it yet, and we're nearly at the end. Oh, and down here, he's actually yelling in one of her friends' face, like that is trying to protect her from him. He's literally snarling in her face. Okay. I cannot make this up. Naomi just got choked to the point where she was unconscious. She just got choked out. The first thing she says when she wakes up, coffee. I need Lucy to be so fucking for real. She just got choked to sleep. And she went, you playing in my face. So after Naomi and her niece is literally kidnapped by a crime boss and held hostage, almost died, her parents on their way to her stop and get her coffee. Yeah, your daughter and your granddaughter were just kidnapped. And you stopped. You said, you know what she needs? A cup of coffee. Finishing this book was a lesson in discipline. And I have to say that I'm really proud of myself for making it to the end, because there was just so many moments that I wanted to put the book down and just never go back to it. I think if I took away like my personal sentiments, this is still at its basic core a 2 or 2.5 star read. But because of all the problems that I had with the book, I'm rating it 1 star. I really did not like this book at all. The romantic side of Knox did not come until the epilogue of the story, and that somehow makes this romance journey that much worse, because Naomi had to suffer all of his childish, toxic masculinity and his emotional deterrence and his emotional manipulation to get to the point where he valued her. And even then, he had to be faced with the ultimatum of like a life or death situation for Naomi for him to come around to the idea that he loved her enough to take a chance, to take a risk and want to be with her. I just don't find that romantic at all. Like, why does she have to literally almost die for you to say, okay, like, I want to be with her? Because prior to that moment, they were having conversations trying to resolve the conflict in the relationship, and he was adamant about how he did not want to be with her. He was afraid to be with her for a multitude of reasons, which I'm going to get to that in a second. But he was so afraid to be with her and so afraid to be vulnerable with her, to open up with her and really share that side of himself, that even seeing her in pain wasn't enough. Watching her cry wasn't enough. Watching her niece actually be heartbroken over their breakup and his relationship with her wasn't enough. The entire town, his brother, his grandmother, his co-workers, even her family members are all expressing extreme disappointment in him, and he was totally fine and happy to just let everybody disappointed. I am wholly convinced that if Naomi had not almost died within the story, he would have stood his ground on not wanting to be with her just because he was too afraid. And I don't find that romantic at all. I don't want to have to be on my deathbed for you to love me, because that's such an encasement of like a bubble situation where, like, unless I'm on the verge of not being on earth at all, not being alive at all, you see no value in me. Moving back to Knox himself, I said earlier in one of my updates that like there was no logical reason for him to be the way that he was and be very, very mean to her in the way that he was. And the catalyst for them breaking up did not get introduced until the very chapter that they broke up. That is insane to me, that in almost 600 pages, you did not feel the need to lay the foundation for getting to where we were so that we can understand their logic. And Naomi, once again, just stood and waited like a puppy dog for him to come around for whatever reason. And it's really baffling to me that you waited that long to introduce this concept or this reasoning behind this breakup. Are you serious right now? What frustrated me even more, now this is just my personal gripes, is that after the fallout of their third act breakup, Naomi is acknowledging that she no longer has to do what he tells her because the relationship has ended. And so he's telling her to do things even afterwards. He's trying to exercise this power over her that she no longer has the need to give him, and yet she is still allowing him to exercise that power. He still feels like he has a say-so in her life, even though they are not necessarily together. I have heard so many conversations about people romanticizing abuse, especially in Colleen Hoover books. And I'm not trying to get into that argument, but I have read It Starts With Us, and I have read It Ends With Us, and nothing romanticizes abuse in those books the way that his emotional manipulation, his mental manipulation, his gaslighting, and his verbal abuse was romanticized within this story. It was not cute. It was abusive. And it makes it even worse that Naomi has a past experience with physical abuse, and she literally swapped physical abuse for verbal and emotional abuse, and somehow that is supposed to be better. I am not seeing a clear difference between her physical abuse and what Knox is doing to her. The only difference is that she actually likes it from Knox, or she wants to be with him so bad that she is ignoring all of the red flags. But there to me is very little difference from somebody slapping you in your face and somebody verbally berating you. This is the biggest romanticizing of insidious, beneath the surface abuse that I have ever seen. And even if you're not one to acknowledge that, still you cannot deny the fact that Naomi had to go even after suffering, right? He's watching her go through all of this suffering. He's hearing from her friends and her family about how her life has gone, and yet he chooses to put her through the same things, and he's supposed to be better because he's making the decisions in her best interest. Like, I still feel like Naomi never got a chance to really stand up and be herself. She was happy to let Knox do all the dirty work, to be the mean person, to be the asshole, and protect her so that she didn't need to do the thing that would upset people. She is a people pleaser, and now she has a bodyguard, but she's still very much a people pleaser. She still doesn't know how to say the hard thing, and like, she was just very happy to give over her autonomy to Knox. And I do think that submission in a relationship is a beautiful thing, but it needs to be acknowledged in a way that you know that someone is handing you their authority, and they hold all the power. There are so many other examples of men who need to be dominant, like Restore Me by J.L. Seegers or Powerless by Elsie Silver. These are two examples of very dominant men that have a logical reason for why they have a need to be in control, and yet the power that they have received from these women, they value. And I just think that that is something that's necessary. Like, consent is necessary. And just because you bombarded your way into this girl's life and started forcing her around and forcing people to respect her, like, that's not the same thing as helping her understand the respect that she deserves. And so this was a heaping pile of trash. Me and Lucy Score, we got beef for life. We got beef forever, especially because I bought Buy a Thread, which I can actually return. I'm very, very grateful for that because my daughter didn't draw in this one. But I read a couple of reviews for this book, and it seems like it's gonna be the same thing. Like, I guess the male character in this book is 45, and that he acts extremely childish in the way that Knox did in this book. So I won't be touching this book at all. Overall, I think that buying hyped books, especially ones that are popular at Target as well as in the book community, is like playing bookish roulette. I feel like that's just my expectations when it comes down to like the fiction section of Target books. So while I can't say I had the best of time completing this video, we did get a 4-star read, and so I'm even more grateful for A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and the utter entertainment that it gave me, because I needed it going into a Lucy Score book. Anyways, thank you guys for tagging along with me on this journey. Make sure you check my description box so that you can check out everyone else's videos. We've had less check-ins this time around, so I'm actually really in the dark on everyone else's experience with reading their very hyped books. But nonetheless, this was not as bad as the Goodreads one, because that was just bad book after very bad book. This one I only had to suffer really just one time. If you've made it to the end of this video, leave me a little droplet of blood, and I will see you guys in my next one.